Those bad boys has died at home in Los Angeles. He was 52 and had been suffering from prostate cancer for 4 years. In America, Zappa was denounced by the church, had his concerts broken up by the police, and his records banned by radio stations. His relationship with Britain was no less fraught. In 1971, the Royal Albert Hall in London banned one of his concerts, calling it undiluted filth. But he was idolized in Eastern Europe, especially in Czechoslovakia, where President Václav Havel wanted to make him special ambassador for culture. Nicholas Glass reports.
In a way, Frank Zappa had a head start. If you had to invent a name for a 60s rock and roller, you might just have stumbled on Zappa. In fact, it was the name he was born with. The moustache and what he called his imperial goatee followed. Frank Zappa in 1985. His first album, Freak Out, with the Mothers of Invention, came out 20 years earlier. The old album covers alone suggest a sly wit. We're only in it for the money, lampooned the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
Some of the lyrics would cause offence, and the man had a distinct way of titling his albums. There would be 57 in all.
I'm tired of walking up and down this street all by myself. No love left for me to give.
Well, I came across Frank Zappa when I was a youngster, in my early 20s, and although he'd been around for a very long time by then, that was the first time that I really got into him. A friend of mine bought the Shake Your Booty album, and I just played it and played it and played it. I thought it was absolutely incredible. But obviously at that time I never had any idea that I'd end up running Frank's record company.
Music for Nations. Hello.
Zappa signed with the independent British label Music for Nations in 1987. His image is to be found on most walls in their North London office. That includes a cult poster from the 1960s, Zappa on the loo, trousers around his ankles. Since they started reissuing his back catalogue, they've sold some 2 million compact discs in Europe.
This is the only thing I know how to do. I would make a very bad plumber or carpenter, or nuclear physicist, but I'm competent at what I do. In order to do press, there's no way that I can sit here and be a normal human being, because being interviewed is one of the most abnormal things that you can do to somebody else. It's 2 steps removed from the Inquisition.
The touch of the rebel, the iconoclast, made him something of a hero in Eastern Europe. Václav Havel, the Czech president, was a fan. By way of tribute, Havel said tonight that Frank Zappa was both a friend and a man who'd struck a chord with his, Havel's, generation. Zappa's music doesn't lend itself to easy definition. By the end he was writing orchestral pieces, involving in this case some dance. Recently he'd worked with a German orchestra and the Irish folk band The Chieftains. Mostly he composed at home in his studio.
He just liked making music. He was happiest in his studio because his studio was at his home and his family were around him. And he just used to have to walk downstairs to the studio where he had absolutely everything. He had staff working there full time and the most complicated machinery ever.
Did you ever see him work there?
Yes, I did.
And? A man absorbed?
Yes. Yes, and he'd always, whenever you went over there, he'd always play you music. And then he'd put the world to rights.
Frank Zappa, as it happened, was more popular in Berlin, Prague and Moscow than in Beverly Hills. He had a way of jangling Western sensibilities, a way it seems that made him all the more celebrated in Eastern Europe.